before the video starts. I normally don't do this, but I've realized that I probably should. If you guys do enjoy today's video, leave a like and subscribe. It really supports me. If you want to keep up with the streams and the community that we've built over time, YLR is the motto. We're young and living right. Join the Discord. All links are in the description. That's it. I'm out. We have to talk about weed. Let's talk about it.
Cannabis has been vilified to a ridiculous degree for the last century, but it's now finally being decriminalized.
What does vilified mean? Speak or write about in an absolutely disparaging manner. Bro, what does disparaging mean? Expressing the opinion that something is of little worth, critical, or derogatory. So it's saying it's bad. Overly grown.
In more and more places around the world. It's just recently been legalized in Germany, and for very good reasons. Compared to legal drugs like
the last video I did on YouTube about weed got like 2K views, bro. We got a YouTube farm sometimes.
Like alcohol, which will
gotta be grinding out here, bro.
Cause 1 in 20 deaths just this year, cannabis is pretty mild. So, to justify harsh prosecution and punishment, its negative effects have been wildly overstated. Naturally, there was a lot of pushback, and here's something went wrong.
The mystical flower?
If you followed the discourse over the last few years, you might have got the impression that weed has almost only upsides and few, if any, negative side effects. We ourselves contributed to that narrative. What made this worse is that criminalization made it very hard for scientists to study cannabis, especially its long-term effects. They faced bureaucratic and legal hurdles, and studies often had to rely on small sample sizes. In the last few years, this finally started to change, so it's time to bring new evidence to the discussion.
I did see the group chat, yes. Yes. I was peeking my head in.
And, well, it's not pretty. While weed is still much less harmful than alcohol, it does have a dark side. It is more addictive than we thought and can have significant negative effects if you use it long term. It seems that... what are you doing? Before you tell us how dumb we are, please watch the video. To be crystal clear, we think prohibition doesn't work and cannabis should be legal, but
the thing is that I am... very when it comes to weed, I'm very open to hearing other opinions about it, and I don't think there is a right or wrong opinion on weed at all. I think it's definitely bad to be putting smoke in your lungs, yes, but I think there are other benefits behind it, depending on your situation, depending on how you use it. You know, at the end of the day, some of this stuff is used for medical reasons. And drugs wouldn't, or doctors wouldn't be just giving out drugs like that if it didn't have somewhat of a benefit, you know? So maybe it depends on your situation type shit.
This also means that we need to treat it as what it is, a drug, with unique upsides and downsides. So let's take an honest look at some of the latest research together. Weed is getting stronger and stronger. Cannabis's magic juice is tetrahydrocannabinol, THC. It docks on your cannabinoid receptors, which affects various brain functions. THC activates some regions and calms down others, creating a fun cocktail of sensations. The more THC, the more intense the high. And people seem to be into higher highs, or at least this is what the market is providing. In the US, Canada, and...
It's because everybody's fucking tolerance is so high now, bro.
The concentration of THC in legal and illegal cannabis products has more than doubled in the last few decades.
Yeah, W-bud.
While ever more potent strains are bred, products like edibles or concentrates with more than 60% THC have become increasingly common. While the share of products with less than 15% THC has...
Yeah. I don't know if just because I don't think it's been around legally long enough for us to understand really how to use it in the correct way. And it's also being misconceived by people that just don't, that are closed-minded.
Declined. Unfortunately, just about every problem weed creates gets worse at higher THC doses. At the same time, more and more people use weed. In the US, more people consumed cannabis daily than alcohol for the first time in 2022.
We vibing.
In Canada, 26% of people 16 and older use it, up from 22% in 20. It's not possible to say if legalization is the reason for this, though, since studies are pretty inconsistent and vary. What are we seeing as a result of this? Let's start with something that used to get you laughed out of the room: addiction. Weed addiction and withdrawal symptoms. A big narrative about weed is that it's not addictive, or at least not that big of a deal. And for most people, this is true. Studies clearly show that the majority handle it well. For 8 out of 10 use.
There's no addictive chemical in weed. That's the thing. There's nothing in, bud. It's not an addictive chemical. If you have an addictive personality, you can 100% get addicted to it. But I mean, that kind of goes back to it being misused or misconceived. It really just depends on the person, bro, and how you conceive it, how you use it.
Weed, it's just a casual high and not problematic at all. About 2 in 10 users develop a cannabis use disorder, or CUD. CUD has 11 different symptoms, from the inability to stop when you've had enough, to using it when you know it will have negative consequences, to tolerance and withdrawal. They can all basically be reduced to you're doing it too often, even if it's bad for you, and it's less fun than it could be. There are 3 major risk factors here: the amount of THC, how often you consume, and your age when you start using cannabis. The more THC, the more often, and the younger you are when you start, the higher your risk. If you smoke too much weed too often, it will have negative impacts on your life. So if this is you, toning it down a bit will make a big difference. 1 in 10 users develops a serious addiction. They usually consume daily, and their life is significantly impaired or held back because they spend a lot of their time either using or recovering from cannabis use. Since their brain is building a tolerance, they need increasingly high doses or stronger weed, often both. Studies found a variety of negative effects. Heavy users can experience bad moods, feel irritable, restless, paranoid, anxious, and even depressive. In a sad twist of irony, for many addicts it feels like they need weed to fight these symptoms. Maybe it did actually help at first, while in reality it makes those symptoms stronger and more persistent. Studies also found that loneliness and frequent cannabis use go hand in hand.
Bet.
If you feel lonely, you're more likely to use weed, and if you use weed, you may experience more loneliness. It's not always easy to...
You gotta bleep that word though, gang. You gotta bleep that word next time you type it.
Say which came first, but they seem to reinforce each other. So on the one hand, cannabis makes loneliness feel much less bad. On the other hand, it can also make you feel more socially awkward than you actually are, and
I almost just threw
withdraw
up.
from friends. This can lead to a downward spiral that ends in self-isolation and chronic loneliness. Another thing many people who consume a lot experience is a mental numbness that makes boredom feel okay because it impacts the reward system of your brain. Not great, but good enough. You can spend your days killing...
This is what I don't understand though. This is what I don't... The people that don't smoke weed deal with the same shit, bro. You're not lonely in dealing with because you're smoking weed. That's not the is he saying it's fucking making it worse?
Reward system consume a lot experience is a mental numbness that makes boredom feel okay because it impacts the reward system of your brain. Not great, but good enough. You can spend your days killing time binging mildly interesting stuff, being numb rather than having fun. Boredom is a signal to your mind to get creative or learn something new, but this is suppressed. This also makes quitting so much harder because your daily routines suddenly seem boring and unexciting, making it very tempting to go back. If you find yourself using constantly, this can also stunt your development as a person. The numbness dulls bad feelings, making it easy not to deal with them. But in life, you can only get over bad feelings if you actually feel them, and you have to process them to grow. Lastly, if you actually making it easy not to deal with them. But in life, you can only get over bad feelings if you actually feel them, and you have to process them to grow. Lastly, let's
talk to him. Fucking talk to
physical
him.
withdrawal symptoms.
All right, bro, I'm
The more
done
you
clip farming.
consume,
I'm
the
done.
worse they'll be for you, especially if you use daily. Withdrawal can cause headaches and sweating or chills, decreased appetite, in severe cases.
I'm the type of person that has the curiosity that would, and like the thing is that like I'm okay with even like the downsides in life. Like I'm okay with them in a way, because I know I'm learning so much in these moments, you know, where I feel like that, to where, yes, it might fucking suck, but dude, like, down the line, it's just gonna make you a better. Getting through that, fighting through the weeds, will get you through that.
This is even fever, nausea, and abdominal pain. You might have trouble falling asleep,
And it'll grow you. It'll grow you.
and if you do, you might have disturbing and vivid dreams. The withdrawal can put you in a depressive mood where life feels daft and pointless. You can feel restless, angry, anxious, or nervous. You may feel unable to do anything at all. After
Nah, I ain't fucking with crack, bro. I ain't fucking with crack.
these symptoms will begin to subside, and after a few weeks, they'll be gone entirely. The exact time depends on how much and how long you've been consuming cannabis. Now, let's get to the worst part.
Fuck no.
Weed may damage your brain. This section was not fun to research because there's fierce debate among researchers how bad weed is for your brain and whether it has irreversible long-term consequences or not. There's no consensus yet, and it's hard to say anything.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about like this part of it, part of like weed and THC in general, because I definitely feel that fog brain sometimes, and I'd be lying if I said I haven't felt like brain fog, you know, like things that I'm like, why did I just forget that? That's something that I could understand, but I mean, I don't know.
Definitive. Having said that, THC directly interferes with
Is that THC or is that you just forgetting something? Or maybe it's a little bit of both.
critical brain chemistry. There is some evidence that it may alter its structure. If it does, this may go away again if you quit after a few years, or not. We don't know yet. The consequences vary a lot between individuals, but especially for heavy users, they have a variety of potentially unfunny downsides. The most common one is that your memory gets significantly worse. Sustained heavy use may reduce your ability to learn, your reasoning, perception, attention span, decision-making, language abilities, and impulse control. Most negative effects seem to go away or at least weaken over time after you quit, but again, we simply don't know enough and need more research. Where the evidence is much clearer is that consuming a lot of weed is really bad for teenagers on multiple levels.
I'm in a like agreeance that, you know, it's definitely not probably the best thing for you know, people. Well, I mean, I don't know. You could really say anything, bro, because you can go back to the whole medical shit.
Who use a lot.
And I think he's also talking about like a little bit younger.
Much more likely to become addicted to weed. This may just be correlation and weed may not be the underlying cause, but heavy weed users are more likely to perform poorly in school and less likely to finish their education.
With my kid, I would let him know right away, like, yo, if you want to try it, like, let me know, you know, come to me basically as a, you know, either man or woman, and say, hey, I have curiosity in this subject, and, you know, Instead of, I don't know, if my kid came up to me at 18, 19 years old, hey, I'm curious. You know, is this something that I could try, or is this something that you'd be open to, whatever? Yeah. I'd spark up with him.
They are, on average, less satisfied with their life and what they've achieved. This may simply be because if your memory and motivation are stunted, you have fewer interesting
I'd be like, how did you get curious? Like, why, what's, you know?
experiences.
I tell them, fuck that pussy shit and try this and then throw it. Holy fuck, gang.
And forget the ones you do
Yeah,
have.
Twitch probably
And there
won't.
is strong evidence that teen users are way more likely to develop mental health issues like psychosis, schizophrenia, depression, or anxiety later in life. Once again, the younger you start, the higher the risk. And it also seems to rise massively with high THC doses, making highly potent cannabis products even more dangerous for teens. Okay, let's wrap this up. We've only focused on the negative sides in this video. That was the whole point. As we said before, for most people, weed in moderation is totally fine and definitely way less harmful than alcohol. You do you, we're not your parents. The upside of moderation is also that when you do it, your experience will be more intense and special. But for teens, weed, especially using it regularly or a lot of it, is a bad idea, with potentially life-changing consequences. We know that criminalization
You live and you learn,
did
bro.
nothing
You
to
try
make this
shit.
better.
You do
We
stuff.
now have a new chance.
That goes
under-
back to the learning. Just learning, that's all. And you're learning how to be, a better man and person for your future generation. You know? I get a joy out of that. I get a, like, level of, what's the word? You know? I want to become the best man I can for my generation and my kids and my kids' kids and all that. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about like fucking just going out and trying a whole bunch of shit. Hey, don't do it. Like, nah. But I want to take my experiences and everything like that. And, you know, if they are curious, educate them in a way that they're not, you know, fucking scared or freaking out or dealing with certain things, you know?
legalization. It begins with being
Reddit, shut the fuck up, bro.
open and honest about the state of science and acknowledging that weed is one drug among many others.